Mindfulness is a skillful way of relating to and connecting to life and daily experience. It is paying attention on purpose in the present moment and in a non-judgmental way. It is a way of being, and it takes practice. It is calm attention to what is happening from moment to moment, without discrimination or criticism. It is the observing power of the mind that sees without the filter of desire or aversion, liking or disliking, or delusional reaction. It is therefore a wholesome way of seeing what is happening in the present moment. Mindful breathing brings the mind home to the body. You begin to experience calmness, a sense of well-being and quiet joy. Breathing in, I know I'm breathing in. Breathing out, I know I'm breathing out. This helps our concentration and focus, and we begin to appreciate the fact of being alive instead of being distracted and confused by compulsive thinking. Mindful walking helps us to be in the present moment, and we can appreciate the beauty of the environment. We can stop and smell the roses and experience the joy of just being alive. Mindful eating in silence is a peaceful activity, and we can appreciate the food much more. When we're eating and talking, what we're talking about becomes more important than the food. The food becomes a secondary thing. So when we eat mindfully, we can appreciate the food much more. Mindful cleaning, cooking, and washing help us to enjoy doing these activities instead of being in a hurry to finish them so that we can do other things. Present moment, wonderful moment. With mindfulness and calm focus, we can deal with our own suffering, or anxiety, fear, and worry, frustration, irritation, anger, resentment, sadness, and sorrow. You can embrace your mental emotional upset and take care of it with compassion, kind acceptance, and patience. Mindful breathing can help us to stop thinking about the past with regret and guilt, and stop thinking about the future with anxiety, fear, and uncertainty. We're able to experience tranquility and stillness, which is most beneficial and precious in our busy and stressful lives. Mindfulness can also help us to live more calmly and wisely amidst difficulties and challenges, as in our present-day pandemic. Mindfulness has the power to heal past traumas and conflicts because it's a state of non-duality. And so one is able to be objective and see things as they are without identifying with them and let them go. Later we'll be speaking about the nature of non-duality. Mindfulness also helps us not to react to unpleasant words and situations, and not to take things so personally. A great deal of our mental energy is caught up in habitual reactions. It is our reactions which make us burn out, which throws us off balance and causes us suffering, stress, discontentment, and dis-ease. Things get better in our lives when we react less and less. We can remain calm and patient, wise, strong, and secure. Then we can respond in a beneficial way and be helpful to others. So you see, with mindfulness, there's a difference between reacting and responding. Our basic problem in life is that we take things too personally. even things that are not directly related to us. It's a part of our conditioning. So this is an aspect of ignorance and delusion. Mindfulness is much more than you think. Our lives are not determined by what happens to us, but by how we react to what happens. Not by what life brings to us, but by our attitude we bring to life. The world is as it is. Life is constantly changing and uncertain. A calm and positive attitude causes a chain result of positive thoughts, events, and outcomes. It is a catalyst, a spark that creates extraordinary and surprising results. Events do not cause us suffering. They may cause us physical discomfort or some inconvenience and delay. And of course, a change in our lifestyle. It is our mental emotional reaction to those events that cause us suffering. Upset, anger, frustration, anxiety, and despair. Without mindfulness, we are enslaved and deluded by mental activity. We are prisoners to our psychological process. This is a source of dukkha, mental emotional disturbance. We believe that to follow our impulses and satisfy our desires and expectations is freedom. This is an illusion. In fact, we are slaves to craving, clinging, frustration, fear, anxiety, and despair. In mindfulness, one is not only restful, calm, and happy, but alert and awake. Mindfulness meditation is not an evasion or escape. It is a clear and serene encounter with reality. The secret of life is revealed when we are living in harmony with the changes and motions of life. When we are not constantly struggling to change what is happening in the present moment. Patience and acceptance is the key to peace, compassion, wisdom, patience, and freedom. Our minds are conditioned to react. Our brains are educated, programmed to label, judge, criticize, condemn, compare, to like or dislike, to want or not to want, or to have aversion and ill will. This is the conditioning of our mental defilements. So this is the cause of our conflicts, discontentment, disharmony, and dis-ease. The idea of a permanent, unchanging ego center or self is strengthened by this conditioning. And it is this deep-rooted illusion of a permanent, concrete, and separate ego entity which is the source and cause of our problems and conflicts, fears and worries, craving, greed, and attachments. We can live skillfully and deal with our thoughts and emotions. With objective awareness, mindfulness of our mental landscape, we can see thoughts as just thoughts, feelings as just feelings, moods and emotions as just moods and emotions. This is the miracle of mindfulness. We can see and understand their impermanent, changing, and uncertain nature, and can therefore let them go, just freeing the mind of suffering and dis-ease. If we wish to live skillfully, we need the vital factor of mindful awareness of what is happening from moment to moment. This factor of knowing, of being present, is essential if we wish to go beyond our continual stream of thinking and imagining, or projecting, analyzing, discriminating, comparing, judging, and reacting. Without this mindful awareness, we're locked into our stale and limited conditioning or habits. Through awakening, we gain nothing at all. All we do is to get rid of all the extras, the mental psychological garbage. We just put down our burden. Life is still life. There are still relationships and there is still action. The big difference is that one is more peaceful, more patient, more calm, less grasping and clinging, and expectations. Now, the miracle of mindfulness is that it's a state of non-duality, meaning there is no I, no self that's being aware or being mindful. There's just that energy of attention. Initially, we don't see this, but with practice, and our minds are more calm, more present, we begin to see this, that there's only this energy of attention. And why we don't understand this initially, because we're conditioned to identify with our sense experiences. The eyes see something, and then we say, I'm seeing something. I'm hearing something. I'm smelling something. I'm touching something. I'm tasting something. I like it or I don't like it. And of course, I'm thinking something. So when we identify with the sense experience, we create duality in the mind, meaning subject and object. The I as a seer or observer, which is separate from the object. We create the duality between the I as a hearer or listener who thinks it is separate from sound. We believe that there's a taster who is separate from the flavor of food. Likewise, there's a smeller separate from the odor, the smell of the food or whatever we're smelling, maybe incense or perfume or something. And of course, we think that there's a feeler of touch sensation, which is separate from the actual touch. And of course, we believe that there's a thinker separate from thoughts. And this is one of the insights of the Buddha. He realized actually that the senses were actually sensing by themselves. There's really no one behind it. And of course, when we're very mindful, especially when we're in a retreat situation, we can see this, that there's actually no one behind seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching when the mind is silent. So the mindfulness becomes very beneficial in psychotherapy because when we realize the nature, the non-dualistic nature of mindfulness, of awareness, of attention, we're able to see things more objectively. For example, if fear arises or anxiety, we're able to say there is a state of fear or there's a state of anxiety. Likewise, desire. Instead of saying, I want this or I don't want that, you say there's a state of desire or there is craving. You just see it as it is without imposing this I onto that experience. And then we remind ourselves it is impermanent. It's a changing condition of mind. And we can let it go more easily when we return to present moment mindfulness. And the more we do this, of course, it becomes easier to see things as they are and to let go of things. Even if, say, you're comparing yourself to someone, and envy or jealousy might arise. You just say there's envy, or there's a state of envy, there's a state of jealousy. So in other words, you don't judge it, you don't criticize it, because very often, when jealousy or envy arises, then sometimes you say, oh, this is terrible. I shouldn't be jealous. I shouldn't be envious. I should be a good Buddhist, or I should be a good meditator. I should be happy. I should experience sympathetic joy and mudita for that person. So this is the great benefit of mindfulness. So we see things as they are without judging, without criticizing, without reacting negatively to it. And there's another interesting way of dealing with our mental states, which was taught by Thich Nhat Hanh. He calls it mindful breathing and smiling. For example, if fear arises, you breathe mindfully and you say to yourself, breathing in, I know there's fear in me. Or breathing in, I know there's anxiety in me. Breathing out, I smile. Breathing in, I know there's craving in me. Breathing in, I know there's frustration in me. Breathing out, I smile. And it is impermanent. This too shall pass. And this phrase, this too shall pass, these 4 words are some of the greatest wisdom in human experience. This too shall pass. It is impermanent. And you find that when you practice this yourself, you find that when you can smile mindfully at anything, including what is happening, in our present day pandemic, anything which is unpleasant, anything that's anxious, fearful, that when we can smile, it's a very positive state of mind. So it puts you in a very positive frame of mind because it is positive. It's wholesome. Just like when you can laugh at something which is very unpleasant, something which is very challenging. You can laugh at it. And as you know, there's something called laughing yoga. You can see it on YouTube, laughing yoga. This is why there's an old saying that goes, laughter is the best medicine. It's really true. And if you can't laugh, at least you can breathe mindfully. So it's a very positive practice, very beneficial. And then another aspect of mindfulness and psychotherapy is the ability to see thoughts as just thoughts. Because normally we don't see thoughts as just thoughts, right? We're just caught in what our thoughts are creating. Countless stories, sometimes dramas, worries, fears, fantasies. So we're caught in it. And from a Dhamma perspective, we're deluded by these mind-created stories and dramas and worries and fears and fantasies. And we think it's true. So one very beneficial method of applying mindfulness is to objectify those thoughts. And some of you are familiar with this. Just say thinking, thinking, thinking. This came from the Burmese method. Thinking, thinking, thinking. And you come back to present moment awareness. Because when you can make that mental noting, it helps us get out of the mind-created story, or the drama, the worry, the fear, the fantasy. And it makes you realize it's just thinking. They're just thoughts. They're not reality, actually. So this is one of the great benefits of this noting method. Just seeing thoughts as just thoughts. Very useful, very, very. And in my own practice, I found this technique very, very useful. Because, the mind can create so many different things. And so this is why the Buddha taught the importance of mindfulness, to free the mind of dukkha, mental, emotional suffering, delusion, and so on. Because we're conditioned to identify, with everything, whether it's our, mental, emotional states or psychological process, And of course, we identify with the body. We identify everything with the body. Whether you're hungry, tired, sleepy, whether you're sick or the body's aging or the body's going to die. We identify with all these things. I'm sick, I am hungry, I'm worried, I'm aging, and of course I'm going to die. So the Buddha said one of the cause for dukkha is our habitual conditioning of identifying with the body and with our psychological process, or mental emotional states. We grasp at them, in terms of me and mine. And also we identify with or states of consciousness through seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, and so on. Of course, if we have to speak, if we have to use language, you say, oh, look over there, I'm seeing a tree, or I'm seeing this, or I'm seeing that. So in language, we have to use language, and we have to say, I am doing this, or I'm thinking this. But when we have the awareness, the understanding, we realize that it's just language. But actually, there's no I, no permanent I who's actually seeing. There's just seeing. And there's a knowing. Just like when we said breathing in, I know I'm breathing in. Breathing out, I know I'm breathing out. So this knowing is intuitive knowing. It's not intellectual knowing, which is based on memory and knowledge, information. They're two different things. Just like when you're hungry, you're hungry. When you're tired or sleepy, you're tired or sleepy. You don't have to think about it. You don't need a university degree to figure this out. And of course, if you have to go to the washroom, you have to go, right? And another good example, say if you're crossing the road, you look right, left, you look right, and you know when it's safe to cross, right? It's an intuitive knowing. It's a natural intelligence. It's like when you're driving, when to stop, when to turn right, when to turn left, when to change lanes, and so on. So this type of knowing is what the Buddha pointed to. That goes with being mindful, being aware, being paying attention, like this. So mindfulness, there's great intelligence in mindfulness. Because you find in our Western education, we give so much importance to the intellect, to our psychological process. And there is, of course, some function, some use in the intellect, but it is limited. Just like all the knowledge we have, knowledge is also limited. Although we do need some knowledge, don't we? We need some information, but it is limited because things are changing all the time. But awareness and this knowing, this intuitive knowing, is our real intelligence, because it is not based on memory. It's not based on information, facts. Whereas the intellect, thinking, is based on memory and information, on knowledge. So the intelligence of awareness, intuitive knowing, mindfulness, is not based on the past. It's not based on memory. It's just being present and paying attention. It's a very natural intelligence. And it's from this natural intelligence that wisdom can grow. We can have a deeper understanding of the three characteristics of existence. We're able to see the changing nature of things, the impermanent nature of things. And because they are changing and impermanent, they are unsatisfactory, they're uncertain. And there is no permanent self. There's no permanent self which is involved in this. So the Buddha realized that human beings, we're subject to delusion and ignorance regarding the self because it's a part of our condition, right? As we read, we're conditioned to react. We're always reacting, judging, criticizing, comparing, sometimes condemning, liking, not liking, wanting, not wanting, to have aversion, resentment, hatred, jealousy, and ill will. So we are deluded. You can say that we're conditioned to be deluded. And we all suffer from delusion, in varying degrees. So he taught mindfulness, because with mindfulness, we can learn how to limit our reactions. So we can react less and less. Of course, if we see physical danger, we have to respond to that. We have to react to that. But that's different. As we said, there's a difference between reacting, and getting, upset or anxious or fearful or frustrated, and just staying calm, staying focused, so that if anything important needs to be done, or you see someone in danger, or say a child is a good example, you can respond. You can respond in a beneficial way. But if you overreact, you get very deluded, you get very confused, you're not able to respond in a beneficial way. So that's one of the great benefits of mindfulness. We learn how to react less and respond more. So that's a very, say, intelligent, it's a very mature way of dealing with situations. And as you know, with this present pandemic, in the end, it's really how we deal with it. How do we deal with this situation? Because it doesn't matter how upset you are, or you blame the pandemic, or you blame the virus. It's a waste of time. So in Dhamma practice, what is most important is to apply mindfulness and how we deal in a very calm, wise way. And we have to be patient, right? We have to learn to be patient like this. Also, there's a beneficial practice. As you know, there's also mindful chanting. And one of the what chant I do is chanting the mantra. I did it last November. Also in Singapore and in Malaysia. Because it's a very simple mantra, so it's very easy to do. And it's the mantra from the Heart Sutra. And as you know, the Heart Sutra is a very profound teaching, because it's based on the teaching of non-self and emptiness. Very profound. And the mantra that goes with the Heart Sutra, as some of you know, is Gatte Gatte Para Gatte Parasamgatte Bodhi Svaha. And it's very easy, very simple. So it's a beneficial way of focusing the mind, especially when you're having, disturbing thoughts, whether they're negative, fearful, anxious, frustrated, sad thoughts. You can just chant this mantra very slowly, very mindfully. It's very beneficial. Gatte Gatte Para Gatte Parasam Gatte Bodhi Svaha. And the meaning of this mantra is going well beyond the world of dukkha, the world of ignorance, delusion, craving, clinging, attachment, and aversion and ill will. Also going beyond the illusion of duality and separation. And Bodhisattva means rejoice in the freedom, bliss, and peace of awakening. Bodhi means awakening, the awakening mind. It's a wonderful, wonderful mantra. And of course, another beneficial practice is, of course, loving kindness. Because when it's done mindfully, when the mind is calm. And it's especially beneficial when we're suffering from guilt, because this is a universal problem. Many people suffer from guilt. And of course, the basic reason comes from our conditioned mind, judging, criticizing, condemning, liking, not liking. And whenever we make mistakes, we tend to suffer from guilt. Of course, regret. And the way of dealing with guilt is to first realize that as human beings, we're not perfect. And we all make mistakes. But because of our social conditioning, we think that, we ought to be perfect. We should be perfect. But that's just a concept. The idea of perfection is just a concept. Because we're humans. And we all make mistakes. Even famous people, even famous monks make mistakes. So when we make mistakes, it's important to forgive ourselves for being human. It's just a part of our nature. So this is why the practice of loving kindness is so beneficial in dealing with guilt. Because by doing loving kindness meditation, we replace those negative judgmental thoughts with kind, positive thoughts. So it's very beneficial. May I be well, happy, and peaceful. May I be free from fear, conflict, and delusion. May all beings be well, happy, and peaceful. May all beings be free from fear, conflict, and delusion. Because guilt is an aspect of fear. Because you have this negativity. So it creates fear, it creates conflict. And of course, when you suffer from guilt, you have a negative image of yourself. I'm so terrible, I'm so awful, I'm so stupid. Why did I do that? Why did I say that? Etc. etc. That's the judgmental mind. So loving kindness is very, very positive. And of course, any conflict you have in your life with people in your relationships, you can see the benefits of love and kindness. And of course, fear, anxiety can also be overcome with mindfulness, with loving kindness, with mindful chanting, like this. And then during the lockdown, when you had a very strict lockdown a few months ago, I encourage people to do the Qigong movements. Because as you know, many people say in Malaysia, we're unable to go outside for exercise or just walking. So just following the Qigong video on YouTube and doing the movements, was very beneficial in dealing with, frustration, anxiety, uncertainty. Because you imagine there's, this pandemic, it created so much uncertainty. And for the lockdown, you're uncertain about the future. So naturally, there's, fear of uncertainty, fear of the unknown. And this is why so many people around the world, including, of course, politicians and the news media, they created so much fear. Because the politicians themselves are suffering from anxiety, the fear of the unknown. And you can see that very clearly. And especially, most politicians, they don't have mindfulness practice. So they didn't know how to deal skillfully with the fears, the anxiety, the unknown of this new virus like this. So now I'd like to open the floor to any questions you may have. And also, if you have any personal questions, you can send email. My friend will give you the email address. You can please feel free to send questions by email.
Bhante, this is Michael here.
Yes, Michael.
I have the questions. During the pandemic period, we observed that many friends around us has developed a lot of anxiety. The anxiety is not only about the fear of being infected with the virus, but also there's a lot of fear that comes from the due to this pandemic, because there's lockdown, the borders are closed, and then people can't travel, and then there's a lot of effect that will impact, for example, the business could be bad, right? And
Yes.
there could be fear of they may lose their jobs. So
that's right.
This may happen or may not happen, right? So so how do we deal with this kind of fear, or how do we advise our friends to overcome this kind of anxiety?
Yes, because as you know, it's a global condition. Fear of the unknown, fear of your jobs, financial problems, the economy, the national economy, and so on. It's a global problem, and you have to apply mindfulness and just see the anxiety, the fear as just a temporary mental state, and also learning how to be patient, how to stay calm, how to be patient with this situation. That's the important thing, patience. Because when you're anxious, when we're fearful, the anxiety is there, the fear of the unknown, the frustration is there. So this is why the mindfulness, and of course, if you couldn't go outside, just even for exercise or movement, this is where the qigong, the mindful qigong movements can be very beneficial. So you stay calm, stay balanced in the present moment, and just keep reminding yourself, all things will pass. All things will pass. This too shall pass. But it takes patience, and to be patient, you have to be calm. You have to be clear and be calm. So I think this pandemic situation, it was a good opportunity for really, for us to be practiced, to really practice the Dhamma, how to stay mindful, how to stay in the present. And I suggested to many people, say on Facebook, because my main platform was Facebook, was to also to listen. You could listen to any calming meditative music, chanting, any type of music or chanting that you like. That's also beneficial.
Right. Thank you, Bhante.
Okay.
Hello, Bhante. Nice to see you.
Yes. Oh, this is Mike. Mike. Hello, Mike.
Yeah. I'm afraid I only just read on Facebook that you had started. I couldn't find the way in before.
I see. Okay.
So I apologize.
But the good thing, no problem. The good thing is that the video is on YouTube. It's the same topic.
Oh, lovely. Thank you.
That's right. Just go to Bhante Kovida and the benefits of mindfulness.
Oh, lovely.
The talk is there. Yes. And during that period in Kuala Lumpur, I was really in a talkative mood. I was in a teaching mood. Whereas now I'm slowly getting back into into the teaching or the speaking mode, because I've been in a kind of retreat mode for a long time. So, and this is why I was not in a hurry to learn Zoom. I just didn't have the desire to speak, but I was happy to to do some sharing on Facebook, doing postings, answering questions, sending messages, and so on, and through email, of course, because I find answering questions on email is much better than on Facebook. And also there's more space on email to answer questions.
Excuse me, this is Bi Cheng. I would
Hello,
like to
Bi.
pose a question. Yeah, I actually have typed in the chat box. I think probably good for me to just voice it out since they are still 5 minutes away from the Zoom sessions. I'm actually being told that practicing mindfulness meditation is try to make ourselves be present, knowing at that moment where we are, what we are doing, and all that. But of the meditation, due to the needs of life or habitually, we used to be like multitasking.
That's
so
right.
It's kind of like opposite things from the mindfulness meditation. So is this something, the habits that will actually against this mindfulness meditation, or it will actually badly diminishing the effects, the good effects that we are trying to be at that moment?
Yeah, that's a good question. Actually, you can multitask, but if you do it mindfully, then it becomes more constructive, more beneficial. Because there are some people who try to multitask, but because the mindfulness is not really clear, not really firm, then sometimes they can make a mess of things, because you're trying to do all these things, especially when you have young children around, right? You have to do
Yeah.
young children. Crazy things can get very, very crazy. But if you're mindful, you can do it more constructively,
Okay.
and also you can see your limitations also.
So
Because you're
in
trying to do
another word, if let's say we are still continuing practice the multitasking, but thing is still within control, not mess up, not go into the haywire mode, meaning it is also evidence of this benefit of mindfulness meditation.
Correct. That's right. That's right.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Thank you.
Yeah. You can do it more constructively, without making a mess of things.
Okay. Thanks.
That's right. And of course the patience, right? Because normally we get carried away when we multiply, and we're so anxious, right? We become so anxious. So mindfulness is really beneficial in helping us to be less anxious and just to stay more calm, more patient, and do what you can. Just do what you do. That's right.
So
But normally
composely multitasking.
that's right. Because normally we're always in a hurry, right? We're all in a hurry to do what
Yes.
we're doing. That's right. Because then you think, oh, I must finish this so I can do something else. So mindfulness really helps us stay focused and just do what you're doing, and then later you can do other things.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. Yes. And you find too that whenever we can do things mindfully, we can enjoy doing them much better instead of just being in a hurry to finish them.
But Bhante, I guess some people, when they say multitasking, that means that they are watching TVs when they go to toilet, when they are having their dinner while watching TV. So that kind of multitasking.
Right, or you're cooking. That's right. Or you're cooking and you're doing other things while you're cooking. That's right. That's right. For example, say when I'm cooking myself, I just do it in silence. On rare occasions, I'll have some like music. I'll have some, very relaxing music in the background. But I can still cook. Mindfully, patiently, and I enjoy it. I really enjoy cooking. and just cutting up vegetables and being present. And also you can do that
of course, not to conflict that common sense that we use, like watching televisions while reading newspaper, because we are using a common sense. So that contradicting maybe might not be maximizing the effects of reading, right? Because watching television also using hearing and eyes, and while reading also using eyes. So I guess that effect definitely will be diminished. You hardly can use one sense to absorb two things together.
Yes, and as you know, when the pandemic started around, was it March, April, you can see how the media, created so much fear, anxiety, and this is why I suggested to people on Facebook, because that was my main platform, was try to limit your exposure to the media, because it was not healthy. It was just not healthy. And this is why I really admire the Singapore government, because they did it in a much more constructive way, giving the citizens, more constructive advice, giving them some inspiration, how to deal with this situation. Whereas most news media, most governments were not like that. They keep pushing numbers on you, right? More and more numbers, and even predicted numbers also. And of course, they didn't realize how unhealthy it was, the damage they were doing, causing so much fear, so much panic. For example, I was after teaching in Malaysia, Singapore, I visited some friends in Perth, in Western Australia, and Perth was a low risk area compared to Sydney, Melbourne side, and it was much more relaxed there. But even then, many people, or at least some people in Perth, were very scared because of the media, although it was so much more relaxed there. So anyway, I was scheduled to return to Singapore and Malaysia, because my return flight to Canada was from KL, but I was unable to return to Singapore, Malaysia, because you had increased restrictions, and of course there was the strict lockdown in Malaysia. So my friends there advised me to fly directly back to Canada, from Perth, and I was able to do that. Now, when I arrived back here, in what we call Southern Ontario, the Toronto area, Lake Ontario, I could really see the difference. There was much more fear, more paranoia in Southern Ontario than, say, Perth, mainly because of the media. It was very unhealthy, really. So I really think the media should be more constructive, and I think they should also bring on mindfulness teachers, to inspire the people to practice mindfulness, so they can deal with the anxiety, the fear of the unknown, and so on. Because as you know, it was a new virus, so it was very unpredictable like this. So I think we have to end the session now, but we'll continue next week, Saturday, on the 17th. So you can go to the YouTube video, Bhante Kovida, the benefits of mindfulness. It's the same topic. And of course, if you have any personal questions, please send email. So may you all be well, happy, and peaceful. Take care.
Sadhu, Bhante.
Sadhu, Bhante.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Sukhihotu.
Sukhihotu.
See you next week.
See you next week. Yeah.
This is a unique meditation practice, or for those who are having difficulty focusing their minds from too much thinking or from sleepiness. And it goes like this.
Hey, all right.
Oh, is he finished?
Yep.
Oh. Well, we know for
Oh,
next time.
So you can do this practice first with your eyes open and then with your eyes closed. So there is the awareness of each movement of the hand and when the hand touches the body. You're aware of each touch sensation. So this is a very easy way to focus the mind in the present moment. And when our mindfulness becomes very clear, we're able to observe thoughts very clearly, very objectively, and let them go. Mental, emotional conflict and suffering.